Shouting Sub-Zero and welcome back. As of this recording, Switch 2 is around the corner. In fact, I think it's about a month and a half, maybe less. And I still can't believe it. It's been 8 years since the Nintendo Switch launched. Man, a lot of good memories with that console. I'm gonna say it right here and now. The Nintendo Switch, in my opinion, is probably their best console. You know, a lot of people are going to say GameCube, a lot of people are going to say the Super Nintendo, and while the Super Nintendo is definitely up there, there's a lot of great RPGs, great platformers, great action games. I never owned a Super Nintendo, so my experience with it was simply by emulating their titles, which doesn't mean that I can exclude it from being a great console or the best console. It's just I don't have any nostalgic ties. In fact, I think I probably beat about 10-ish games on the Super Nintendo, and probably all of them were like the classic RPGs of that era. But the GameCube, my sister owned it. She still owns it. She still has all her games. She had games like Ikaruga, Tales of Symphonia. She had Mega Man Network Transmission, which I really like. I don't care. The jank is high in that game, but it's a lot of fun. I really love the music. The soundtrack is great. Gameplay is not that good, but there was something about it. It just screams 2003-ish, 2004-ish. Great game. I like that game too. And there's just a couple of other games like Resident Evil 4 that she had. And again, I played the GameCube quite a bit, but just nowhere near as much as, say, a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, or even PS4. So that's why I don't really... Again, you guys are going to kill me in the comments for this, but I don't know. I like the GameCube, but I don't think highly of it like a lot of people on the internet do. The Nintendo Switch, I beat quite a bit of games. I kind of want to talk about some of the games that I believe everyone should just go and buy and play, because I think they're just so fun. And while some of these games are rather obvious, I'm going to exclude Mario Odyssey, because Mario Odyssey is just like a must play. And if you haven't played it, we should just stop watching the video, buy it on the eShop, buy it physical on eBay, or go to Best Buy or GameStop, buy it and play it, because that game is just like, in my opinion, the best 3D platformer in the Mario series. Definitely play Mario Odyssey, but I just want to name some not so obvious titles here that I think maybe some people should play. And there's a couple of obvious titles, but nowhere near the level of Mario Odyssey. Let's get this started, shall we? So the first game that I want to talk about is Cruisn Blast. Cruisn Blast is a very strange game. I grew up playing Cruis'n USA and Cruis'n World. I didn't play like Cruis'n Exotica. I think that's the third game. Didn't play it, but I did play the hell out of Cruis'n World and Cruis'n USA in the arcades. And it was an arcade that I used to go to that was across the street from my junior high school. And this junior high school, it was Thurgood Marshall Academy. Hood as hell. I just want to let you know right now. I lived in Harlem like a third of my life. And this school, while it wasn't as hood as like a PS 195, it was there. It was up there, you know, like we were just in uniform, that's all. But it was rather hood. And the arcade that was there was in a deli. So you go in the deli and you could just get like the Italian ices, you can get like the Bugles, the Doritos, you get your M&M minis and your Skittles, you get your Warheads, your Crybaby Tears, and your Crybaby Gum. And if you wanted to play some Street Fighter Alpha 2 and X-Men vs. Street Fighter, it's right there. And if you wanted to play some Mortal Kombat 3, then it's right there too. But there's a problem though. I'm in the hood, and Mortal Kombat was very popular in the hood. If you played that game, if you didn't follow the rules in the hood, you're gonna get into a fight, and it was crazy. I was fucking scared shitless playing these damn games. I actually limited my gaming ability just because I didn't want to get fucking jumped, man. I swear to God, this is not a lie, okay? But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because they had Cruis'n World and Cruis'n USA in there as well. And it was always empty. No one really played those games. There was always the fighting games that were crowded. So when I saw that they were releasing a Cruisn Blast, I said, whoa, wait a minute, is this the Cruisn that I think it is? And sure enough, it was the game that it says it was. It was a sequel to those games from the 90s. I'm looking at this game and I was just like, this looks like a game that I played in a recent arcade. And while it's not the same as it was back in the 90s, but Dave and Buster's and like Chuck E. Cheese and even some theaters, they have like these generic arcade games like the Halo gun con game, and some other racing games. And you know what? Cruisn Blast is one of those games. I was wondering, I was like, wait a minute, this looks like a game that I played in Dave & Buster's with the kids. I dove deep into the memory bank, and sure enough, I played this with my oldest a few years ago. I think this must have been like 2020, 2021, maybe even before that I played this in Dave & Buster's. And you know what? I went to Dave & Buster's recently, and I saw it again. And you know, this version is better than the arcade one, surprisingly. One, there's more content, and two, it just feels and looks better. Strange, right? That this game right here is better than the arcade game, which is crazy. Not that the arcade game was like the greatest game of all time, but it was rather fun for what it was. And Cruisn Blast on Nintendo Switch has the greatest title screen, music, and menu of all time. That alone makes you want to play it. This has kind of like a mix of Burnout gameplay where there's incentive to crashing your opponent. You see them, kill them. That's what you need to do. And some of the stages are just really out there. There's some drops in this game that I was looking at this and I was like, how the hell did they get this in 60 frames a second on the Nintendo Switch? Everything, the explosions that are happening in the background, very shocking that this is running at 60 frames on Nintendo Switch, and it looks very good. I don't care what anybody says. I have a 4K TV, and it looks, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I go, damn, this shit looks like a PS5 game. Cruisn Blast, you need to get this game. I don't know how common it is nowadays, because I remember when it first launched, it was a little bit difficult to get this. I remember it was on back order. I ordered it on Amazon. I pre-ordered it, and I didn't get the first shipment. I had to wait a little bit, but fun time. Now, let me just give you a little bit of context here. I used to be like the biggest RPG guy ever, and then I started playing shooters, and then I kind of like didn't like the 360 PS3 era of RPGs, and then PS4 kind of fixed that in my opinion. I feel like the PS4 started to make some games that interest me again. I remember on PS3 and 360 we had a few bangers, like the Star Ocean 4 was great. I love that game. But then there were just too many, like, I don't know, it's just something about that era for RPGs wasn't doing it for me. So I was really playing a lot of RPGs on handheld on 3DS. So 3DS and DS, that was my shit right there, okay? And console just wasn't doing it for me. And I remember my first Shin Megami Tensei game that I've ever completed, that I've ever was even interested in playing, was Shin Megami Tensei 4 on the 3DS. And till this day, in my opinion, I feel that is one of the top 10 RPGs of all time. Period. This goes toe to toe with games like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 7. In my opinion, SMT4, 10 out of 10. So when I saw that they were releasing a new game on the Nintendo Switch, I was super excited. And you know what? While this is not as good as SMT4, that's like saying, Chrono Cross isn't as good as Chrono Trigger. Doesn't mean Chrono Cross is a bad game. It just means that Chrono Trigger is on another level. This game is very grindy. A lot of grinding, a lot of exploration. The story is very light. Man, but I don't care what anybody says. The music in this game, oh my Jesus Christ! You know, I have it in my Spotify playlist. All right, there's some themes. There's this. I'm not remembering at the top of my head. I'll leave it on the screen below. But there's this container area that you visit in the game. Jesus Christ! Freaking amazing. There's this forest that you enter, the serene theme that plays. Oh my gosh. There's even a part when you're running through the city and it's just the fog and the blurriness because the game is not that pretty on the Nintendo Switch. I know they re-released it on PS5 and PC, but I was pretty impressed with the graphics considering what it was doing for the hardware. Okay, there's a part when you're just like running through the city, and the music that's playing, it goes. Oh my god, the music in this game, man. It just like, I think I clocked in like 70-80 hours in this game, and it was worth every minute. The grinding, I was never bored. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of people were just shitting on this game. They were like, oh my god, the game is hard, but all you really have to do is just get to the set level that you needed to pass the area. I don't give a fuck. This shit was fun as hell, alright? If you can get this game for a relatively cheaper price than Vengeance, in my opinion, I feel that it is worth it even today. I'm a cheat here. Technically, it's 2 games. But the second game is in the closet with the collector's edition in the tin foil. I'm not taking it out. Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 for the Nintendo Switch. My initial experience with Xenoblade 1 was on the Wii. I played it for maybe about 15 hours or so. Dropped it because it just looked like complete shit on my TV at the time. And again, this was a dark era for me. I was just like, I don't really like RPGs anymore. So unless it's in a handheld. So I decided to not play it anymore. And I told myself, you know what? I'm going to play the first one day. If they ever release a remaster, or maybe I'll play it on PC via emulation in the future. And then one day in 2020, I believe, Nintendo announced the remaster for the Nintendo Switch. And at the time, they already released 2 in 2017 on Nintendo Switch. I said, holy hell, I can play this, and then I can play part 2 right after. And when this was announced, initially, I already clocked in about 50 hours on part 2. I just never beat it. I got maybe halfway done, maybe even more. Probably like 2/3 through with the game. But something about it just didn't really click for me. I don't know what it was. I was like, it's a good game, it's fun, you know. I know a lot of people don't like the gacha element for the game, but hot take, I kind of like it. I feel like it has a gacha element with no microtransactions. It's just kind of a way to bring in some RNG. I didn't really mind it too much. So I sat down, I said, I'm gonna play this game, and about 90 hours later, beat the game. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. When I first started playing Xenoblade Chronicles 1, after the initial spoiler, where Shulk's girl gets killed, I felt like that was the high. I felt like it never really reached a high like that moment. I was like, whatever. But I did like that the game has so much gameplay. You know, one thing that I don't like about RPGs is sometimes it's either one of 2 things. Either A, there's too much story, shitty gameplay, very simplified. Or B, too much gameplay and shitty story. Shin Megami Tensei 5 falls into that category where it's just like all gameplay, 90% gameplay, 10% story. But the gameplay is so good in Shin Megami Tensei, and the music is so good that I kind of forgive it. I don't know. Dungeon crawlers tend to do that for me. If you're a really good dungeon crawler, I'll forgive the shitty story. In fact, I might even skip the story. I do that a lot sometimes. I go, okay, shut the fuck up. I'm skipping this, right? Xenoblade Chronicles has a pretty good mix of the 2, where the story is present quite frequently, and the gameplay, there's a lot of dungeon crawling. These dungeons are long. The exploration, there's no backseat in exploring in this game. You're exploring these massive fields, and you are leveling up. Not that you're grinding, but you're fighting quite a bit. And while it is a turn-based game, you're always interacting with the gameplay. It's not like you're just pressing A like Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 10. You're just like X, attack, auto battle. No, there's an auto battle there, but you have to manage your techniques. But the story aspect, when I was playing it, I was like, all right, when I bought the remaster and I was playing it, I was just like, I don't get it. How is this game considered one of the greatest games of all time? So 40 hours in, 50 hours in, 60 hours in, and then there's a specific part in the game towards the end. Just clicks. I go, holy hell. Wow. What the hell am I seeing right now? And anybody who's beaten this game, I'm not going to spoil it, but anybody who's beaten this game and seen that one scene towards the end that just explains everything, immediately shot to the top. This right here, one of the greatest games of all time. In fact, a lot of people, some people prefer part 2. Some people will always say that 1 will never be topped. But you know what? While I didn't play much of 3 as of yet, I got maybe like 20 hours into it. I'm going to get to it one day. Xenoblade 1, you have to play it with 2. You just have to. Play 1, play 2, and then perhaps 3. I played 2 immediately after this, and I clocked in like 120 hours when I beat part 2. And I'm not going to say that I like 1 more than 2. I'm just going to have to say that they're a perfect coupling of games. I don't know, man. It's just so fucking good. Like, really play it. Like, it's, oh, man, the story towards the end. It's just telling you, it just makes you appreciate everything that came before it. It's very rare for a game to do that, and this game did it perfectly. A lot of people subscribe to me for my Fire Emblem Awakening video. Then I beat the game. It took me a long time to play it on camera, but I did it. And then I decided to play Fates. I couldn't do it. The game was too fucking hard. I was stressed out every time I played it. I had this rule where every time I was recording, if someone died, they had to stay dead. And it got to the point where I had almost no units left. I had the permadeath on. It was like a Nuzlocke challenge for Fire Emblem. I got to a point when I was recording, it was just an unbeatable stage. And I just said, oh, I don't want to start over. And I never did. So I dropped it. Then I completed the remake of Gaiden on the 3DS, which was Echoes. That was wonderful. I really love that game. Fire Emblem Echoes. Sometimes I think about it and I go, damn, which one's better, that or Awakening? I can't say. Awakening is obviously the better game, objectively speaking. Has more content because of the replayability. But Echoes, I love the exploring. I know it was very simple, but I love switching back and forth between the 2 characters. I also like the units, and the artwork was just so cool, man. It was, at the time, it was a different artist than the one that did, I forgot the name of the artist that did the art for Awakening and Fates. But after Fates, I was like, okay, this artist is kind of, I don't know, they really need to change him. And for Echoes, it was really cool. And then, for the Nintendo Switch, we got Fire Emblem Three Houses. And let me tell you, I only beat this game one time. I beat it once. I beat it with my boy Dimitri over here. And I felt that the game, while it does have replay value because they want you to play all 3 sides, they're what-if stories, kind of. They're like, you can't really say that you need to play all 3 to get the full scope of the story, because obviously only one person can kill the antagonist of the game. There are some stuff that you learn about characters on one playthrough versus the other, but overall, one playthrough is enough, essentially. You can see the majority of the story on it, and everything else after that, and maybe some characters that you may not have a relationship with. You might miss some stuff as well. Like, there's like this Skull Knight in the game where if you don't really look, you don't really know who it is. But then you realize, oh crap, I didn't know that that was the Skull Knight's sibling. So it's kind of cool, but these are things that you have to go out of your way to look for, and I think that's what makes Fire Emblem Three Houses really cool. My boy Dimitri right here, this guy's a beast. This guy goes fucking insane, bro. I'm telling you, like, the second half of this game, or rather the last third of the game, because the 2/3 of the game is you using them when they're younger, and then the last third of the game, I believe like 7 years pass or something like that, or 5 years. I forgot the amount of years that passed, but when they do the time skip and then you see what happened to the world as a result of a certain somebody, Dimitri just goes fucking insane, bro. Like, I'm telling you, like, and then guess what? Not only do you see his character progression go from, oh, I'm such a Boy Scout, to I'm gonna fucking kill you, to now, guys, we need to follow the fucking rules, because guess what? If we don't follow the rules, this is gonna happen. I'm telling you, I would say he's probably the best Fire Emblem character ever. Period. Great game, man. I'm not gonna say much about it, but they did remove, I think, the weapon triangle system. I don't know. I feel like they had their reasons, and the gameplay is different enough where you don't really feel like they took it away. It's, I don't know, it just, the tactics are different in this game versus previous games. But if you want to go back to old school Fire Emblem, just play Fire Emblem Engage. That's a good game too. The last game that I want to talk about is a game that not many people have played. I have not beaten this game. I've clocked in about 20 hours, and it is one of the hardest games I've ever played. And it's very stressful and very nerve-wracking, but I still think it's worth it. And there's a new entry that came out after this, but I'm not a fan of the graphical style change. I am a fan of this one, and this one was ported over to many consoles, and this was the perfect version of the game. Shiren the Wanderer. I think this is Shiren 5? I might be wrong there. Maybe it's not 5. But this is Shiren the Wanderer. It came out on PS Vita as well, and prior to that, I believe it came out on the DS. This game, The Tower of Fortune and the Dice of Fate. That's a crazy subtitle. It's a crazy subtitle. But anybody wondering what Shiren the Wanderer is? If you've played Pokemon Mystery Dungeon or any Mystery Dungeon, this is the same game. This is the father of the Mystery Dungeon games. This man right here, he fears nothing. He doesn't even fear death. So in Shiren the Wanderer, it's hard to explain. This is a rogue-like, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not going to say rogue-lite. You don't keep anything in this game unless you went out of your way to store stuff. So if, let's say, for instance, you clear a specific dungeon and you're allowed back in the village, what ends up happening is you can store weapons that you still had when you cleared the dungeon. But if you really wanted to beat the game, you're going to have to clear all dungeons in succession. And unfortunately, the game is very hard. The deeper you get into these dungeons, you will encounter enemies that will just obliterate you in one hit. Sometimes it's not even wise to fight these enemies. So you start at level 1 at each run. And as you progress, you pick up weapons, you pick up armor, you pick up shields, you pick up a whole bunch of stuff that may help you in your run. But ultimately, there's a lot of RNG that will stop you or even help you in clearing these dungeons. And there's multiple dungeons in this run. So you can get to like dungeon 3 or dungeon 4 and get to a part where you're stuck because you either don't have equipment that's good enough, or you didn't make wise decisions to get that equipment, or to maybe swap items with someone that you ran into. There's these NPCs that you can partner up with even prior to entering the dungeons, or even mid-dungeon you can run into them. Some people even cost money to recruit mid-dungeon. There's these items that you can upgrade and send back to the village. The best description that I can give is it's a dungeon crawler, but it's a dungeon crawler that you're always starting over in. And I got towards the end in this game, fighting these enemies, that they just get so freaking strong that in one hit, I'm done. It's a game that really can frustrate you if you don't know what you're doing, like me. But this is a game that I believe is the perfect handheld companion for anybody. Just pop it in, maybe do a run. Even if you died in that run, but escaped with a powerful sword or a powerful shield, or maybe some money that you can put in the bank, and maybe the next run you can start the run with that weapon, or maybe start the run with that currency, I believe that it increases your chances dramatically. And now that you can get further, and now maybe you can talk to a few people that will help you on the next run. So while the game itself doesn't have the traditional progress of you're leveling up, it has a progression that still helps you on another level. Very pretty game. I love the 2D look of the game. That's one of the reasons why I didn't really play or buy the new one that came out, which I believe is Shiren 6, not on PlayStation, unfortunately. Which is why these games right here, in my opinion, are so good. These are games that, these aren't really PlayStation experiences, man. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, you're not going to get a Fire Emblem Three Houses on PlayStation. You're not going to get a Xenoblade on PlayStation. You're not going to get a freaking, okay, well, you got a Shin Megami Tensei on PlayStation. You're not going to get a Cruisn Blast on PlayStation. And you're not going to get a Shiren the Wanderer on PlayStation, which is crazy. I mean, isn't that what competition should be about, right? Like, I own a Nintendo Switch because there's games on there that are not available on PlayStation or PC. And it just makes me wonder, will the Switch 2 have as many awesome games as the Switch 1? There's plenty more where that came from, by the way. I have other games there you probably never heard of, or games that you probably missed out. And I think that's really cool. I just hope that the Switch 2 has as many games as this, because if it does, then we're in for another great 8 years, if you ask me. So, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Tell me, what do you think? What are some games that maybe you found yourself playing quite a bit that isn't really available on anything else, or not many people heard of? So just let me know in the comment section, and we'll talk another time. Guys, let me know if you're also getting the Switch 2. I'll see you later. Bye.